The Biophilic Leadership Summit is the only multi-day conference entirely dedicated to biophilic projects, principles, and research, bringing together the top industry leaders in an intimate, natural setting to network, build partnerships, and learn from each other.
This year's summit will explore biophilic placemaking and how we can use biophilic principles to promote health, happiness, and vitality in public spaces.
In addition to fascinating presentations, delicious farm-to-table meals at Serenbe, and cocktails, this year's summit will feature a selection of biophilic experiences like forest bathing, bird watching, and more.
So join us in Serenbe for the 6th Annual Biophilic Leadership Summit from March 24th to March 26th, 2024.
Learn more about the summit and register today at biophilic.summit.com.
That's biophilic.summit.com. We hope to see you there.
Hey, Monica.
Hey, Jennifer. I'm so excited for our guest today. I've been using her products forever and so was thrilled to finally meet her.
Oh my gosh, yes. Today we're speaking with my dear friend, Indy Lee, founder of an amazing skincare line of the same name. If you spent any amount of time in the beauty space, and you're probably already very familiar with Indy, she has a really inspiring background that was so fascinating to dive into today.
Yes, her story is really incredible. She went from a CPA at places like Ernst & Young and HBO to a home gardener and advocate for the slow food movement to quite literally battling for her life after being diagnosed with a really, really scary brain tumor. And then finally today, she owns and runs her own successful line of skincare products that are grounded in nature and supported by science.
We talked to Indy about conscious consumerism, why clean beauty can mean a million different things, and why we should never let the perfect get in the way of the good.
Yes. Now, let's get to our interview with Indy Lee.
Good morning, Indy. Good morning, Monica.
Hi, guys. How's everybody?
Good morning.
Hi. We're so happy to have you, Indy. I can't even tell you.
I am so excited to be here and to be looking at you because so often we chat, but like it's on phone or on like apps, but not like this. This is kind of cool.
I know, but nobody else gets to see us, which is
I
nice.
know that's even better because believe me, this is not something I'd want to promote for myself.
Although you do have some good bookshelves back there that are color coordinated.
I like coordinated.
I'm visual. So for me, it's how I remember where my books are. So if I'm like, oh, wait, that's in the red jacket. Okay, let me go find that. That's how I know where my books are. So I don't know. Plus, it looks nice. So
it does. It looks great.
It looks great.
Indy, Jennifer's been talking about you for ages.
No, I'm like now, no pressure.
No pressure or anything. You're going to have to really bring it.
I am Indy's number one fan. Literally, I can't for years. I've been in love with Indy because first of all, Indy, you're one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met. And
oh my gosh.
But your heart, your kindness, just oozes out of you and how you treat others. And I just thought you were such a great representation of the beauty industry and nature and how we talk about biophilia, and everything you do is really, you are who you are. You walk the walk, and it's just so lovely to see.
Thank you. Oh my God, what a great way to open this up. I'm feeling good about myself. Ask me anything you want.
Oh, good. Well, and now you can tell your staff that this was a good mental health day.
That's right. I know. So I was telling Monica that what's so interesting is that we have closed the office from today until we don't go back till Wednesday. And it's basically mandatory. Everybody has to put their out of office on. We actually did a social media pause on our chat and our customer service to really walk the walk and talk the talk. And if we say we prioritize self-care, then we need to prioritize it for ourselves. And being on social media is part of that. And, if everybody's off of my community managers, answering DMs and whatnot, that's not self-care for her. Mm-hmm. And if, someone's on customer service, that's not self-care, that's getting involved. And I said, nope. And it's so funny. People are having an issue with it though.
I'm sure, right? Because we're so programmed to just always be on.
So programmed. And so I was saying my team saw this. They're like, well, you're going to reschedule. And I was like, no, it's with a friend.
I'm trying to bill it as
as a social impact podcast. It's really
That's
not for work.
exactly
It's advocacy.
100%. 100%. And you know what? This fills me up having this conversation and spending time with Jennifer. Monica, I don't know you, but I'm sure by the end of the time, I'm going to say this filled me up with her too.
Okay.
But like, this is part of self-care for me, is having these conversations. This isn't about work for me. This is really about creating awareness that needs to be spread so prolifically.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your background. You know, we sort of we'll have set it up in the intro, but you know, Jennifer's known you for many years. And so I wanted to hear how you guys kind of connected. But I'm assuming that's after you started your brand, your line.
Yes.
And so I love a little bit of background, and I'll throw out that I love that you were a CPA and then you've gone into clean beauty. So I love it.
Yeah.
So give us the high level.
Sure. So it's so funny because yes, Jennifer probably wouldn't have known me prior to this iteration of my life. And FYI, I stalked her on social media. True story. So I'm a CPA. I went to Ernst & Young. I was an auditor, one of those people. And I went over to HBO and was very, very fortunate. Had an incredible career, very young, very early on, where I got to manage the international finance division, and I got to travel all over the world for them.
Fun.
It was unbelievable. And then I had my first child, and, you know, travel international wasn't really on my radar after that.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky they gave me an opportunity to move over to the domestic revenue side. So got very involved with that. And after a while, I realized something important. I don't love accounting.
Okay.
I just didn't love it. And and I left, did some career coaching and development, like recruiting for others. And then had to say, like, what do I want to do with my life? And it's so interesting. A friend of mine was building school gardens. I have a green thumb, toes, nose, you name it. Very blessed. Get that from my dad.
Okay.
And I said, well, let me help you with the school garden business. I'll run your nursery. And they're like, we don't have one. I'm like, I know. I'm going to create it with you. So
That's incredible.
I built a 750 square foot greenhouse in my backyard that I'm staring at on the other side of the screen, and help them bring school gardens to life. And before I knew it, I wound up really in the office and not in the greenhouse, and realized I didn't want to do with the accounting. I didn't want to do the business side. I wanted my hands in the dirt and connected with nature, and was so getting more involved with the slow foods movement and understanding that if you teach children how to grow their own food, they're more apt to eat it.
Yeah.
They're
What
more
year was
apt.
this, Cindy? What year was that?
Oh gosh, that was 2005, 2000, probably about 2005, 2006.
So early days.
Yeah. And I got very involved with that. You know, I looked at what Alice Waters was doing in California, and I said, my gosh, this is what we need here. We need to slow it down. We're looking at, you know, obesity, ADD, ADHD, all these things, autoimmune diseases on the rise, and going, we're just not putting nutrients that are so necessary. And we're so about the fast life, and we're missing what Mother Nature has to offer. And more important, we're not taking care of Mother Earth. And that was a huge issue, and stewardship of the earth. So I built the greenhouse, and I became certified naturally grown. And because being certified organic was just way too expensive and labor intensive for a small little individual like myself. And so I had left the company, and I just was doing it on my own. I was bringing edible flowers to Whole Foods, microgreens to local restaurants, starter plants I was selling, and just really immersing myself in nature and slowing it down, and really having that farm to table mind body connection. And then my body decided it wanted to disconnect a little bit. And I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I wasn't able to work in the farm or the greenhouse that I had built. It was just too much. I had to get it under control, and I went on medication, which helped control it. And my sister said she's pregnant. So I was like, oh, I'm going to create these products for her using ingredients. I mean, I had a lot of calendula, like a lot of calendula. Like I couldn't possibly eat that much. Sure. And they was all coming under harvest. I'm like, And I had so much lavender, and I said, oh, I can make salves and tinctures and whatnot. And I did it for the baby shower, and everyone said, this is what you should do. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, who's clean beauty? Come on, for babies? What are you, nuts?
Tell that to Jessica Alba.
I know, right? Yeah, right. Like, my mother thought I was going to be like Diane Keaton. I could be like Diane Keaton with baby boom. She's like, you could have this whole cottage industry. And I'm like, what are you talking about? People aren't going to do this. And I wasn't listening to the signs. Like, I understood I didn't want anything potentially harmful going on my soon to be newborn nephew's tush and body.
Right. Yep.
I knew about the lack of regulation, and so that's why I did it for him, not thinking in the larger picture.
Yeah.
So the universe sends me another sign and literally says, I clearly need to hit her over the head. Ugh. And I start losing my vision and go to the doctor, immediately went for scans. And 45 minutes later, after the MRI called and said, you need to come in. Ugh. And I was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Oh, God.
And Jennifer knows the story. When I was driving from my house to doctor's office, I didn't call a soul. I just kind of sat with it. And it's so funny having this conversation because I can close my eyes and I can see the drive so clearly. I mean, it was like literally 2 streets. It was a 15-minute drive, but the colors of the leaves, because it was November 4th, was unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, it was just the world became in Technicolor. And I realized in that drive that I was a passenger in my life and not an active participant. And I swore that this was going to happen for a reason. And I was going to live every day from that moment forward with purpose, with passion, be present, be alert to what Mother Nature is providing me, this incredible show. And by the time I got to the doctor's office, I said, what is it? I'm going to be okay. And he said, I don't know. It's not cancer. We don't think it's cancer, but you need to see heavy hitters. Was told I potentially had only 6 months to live to get my affairs in order. And there's little too. And when I went to the doctor and said, I don't understand how this is happening, he said, we're seeing more and more of these things being tied to the environment. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm eating out of a greenhouse. So I that I grow stuff in.
Right.
Yeah. And he said, yes, that's the environment. What you surround yourself in. He goes, what do you put on your skin? What did your mom put on her skin? We know babies are born with a toxic load. And that was that awakening. It was like light bulb. Oh my gosh. I wasn't listening to the signs. And it was in that doctor's office. I'll never forget. I said, that's what this is about. I'm going to create a line that is safe, that is effective, that looks really beautiful on a shelf, because 2008, 2009, things didn't look so pretty on a shelf.
Yeah.
It was just coming onto the scene. And more importantly, Jennifer knows this. I wanted to empower others to live the healthiest version of their life, whatever that looks like. I like to say this. Hi, I'm Indy Lee, and I'm an 80-20 person. It does not always have to be clean everything all the time. That's your choice. Yeah. I just want to provide information and options. So you know the risks, you make the choice. Whatever works for you is the right choice for you. I just want to provide some color around it and some information, and that's it. And so fortunately for me, I found a doctor who was willing to give me a chance at surgery, said you had a less than a 50% chance. I said, I'm dying. Let's go.
Oh my God.
Walked into the surgical suite and said, today's a great day to live. Put on some kick tush music. And went to sleep. And many hours later, when I woke up, I was able to see completely out of my eyes. And the doctor said, we got everything. Welcome to the rest of your life.
Oh, God.
That brings a tear to my eye every time you talk about that, Indy. I
haven't stopped. It's unreal. Like, in some ways, it feels like it was just yesterday. And then in other ways, I'm like, that was like light years ago. Like, what? It's so funny because as we start to look at the brand and the evolution, it's so much more than just that genesis story. Yes, it's very tied to why, but now we need to take it to the next point of why, like, what are we doing to help contribute to change? What are we doing to spread information about what sustainability really can look like in an industry like ours? Because it's not as easy as just put your stuff in recycled, PCR plastic or in biodegradable paper and it's not that easy. The products still need to work and be stable. And it's having that conversation. It's having the conversation of, a lot of little brands can't afford to do that just yet. Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not clean and they're not working. So what can we do to provide information for them or ways to do things? So it's really interesting. I'm excited for the next chapter for this brand to continue to evolve.
Is there a group that sort of is the industry
clean beauty standard group or anything?
No,
Okay.
no, there isn't. There are a lot of various different groups out there, sure, but there isn't just one. We decided to get certified and have our products certified through Cosmos Association. So that's like a global umbrella.
Okay.
Where, via EcoCert, you might see on bottles and boxes, or Soil Association. Those are part of Cosmos. And Cosmos is all about certifying everything from farm to face. So it takes a look at the agricultural processes for the farmers, to the distillation process, to the manufacturing, to the componentry, and every step along the way, every piece of that needs to be certified and approved. And it's an annual audit. So, as things change, we have to evolve with it. That's the stance we said. Okay, if you say an ingredient is no longer Cosmos for, whatever happening, then we're going to have to change with it.
Right.
So that was a decision.
I think it's interesting. We had Jeff Catch on from Rodale, and he's the Chief Impact Officer, and talking about regenerative ag. And we have an organic certified farm where I live here in Georgia, but learning about regenerative that really takes into account the people. How are the people treated on the farm, the farmers? Are they thriving and flourishing, and being paid appropriately? And then what happens to the animals on the farm, right?
Absolutely.
How are they being treated? And then the soil health. And not that organic doesn't obviously consider those things, but it really doesn't incorporate them. And so that, I think, is a fabulous change in agriculture certification. Of how do you continue to lead and get better? And Jennifer talking about this all the time, like, how can we just every day try and be better?
That's it. It's subtle shifts. We've all heard that analogy that a butterfly, flapping its wings can cause a tsunami. And that's really the truth of it. I mean, I was reading a report that they said, we have to make the changes now. I mean, the UN came out with that report that said, hey, it's going to take 30 years just to clean up if everything was right now.
I know.
And it's not just about the soil, although I can go on and on and on about how that's important. I mean, okay, it's great that you're farming nicely, but what are you doing to put back into the soil and make it richer than how you left it?
Yep.
But it's also, what are we doing to help the farmers? What are we doing to help people along the way? The animal health. And that's the thing for us. Like, okay, great. You have a manufacturing plant. If you're washing those vats out with these harsh chemicals and that's leaching into the water system, that's not clean.
Oh, sure.
If you are farming, but you're not paying fair wages for that, that's not appropriate either.
I think that's it. Exactly, Indy. It's the fact that people see certain things that they want to see, but I think the key ingredients are the education that you're giving and the transparency. That's not always easy. It's not just one size fits all for these giant businesses. They're creating these massive brands, and the damage that they're doing compared to like a smaller indie brand like yourself, indie brand. It takes a lot to go into that, to what you create, but it's also the fact that you can do it in a much more thoughtful way. That's also important because you're not just harvesting out of the ground all the time, but you're creating a movement to educate others on why we have to be more thoughtful on what we buy and where we buy it from.
Conscious consumerism. That is what I think it's such an important piece about how we as a society move forward and making the choices. We, especially here in the United States, we're such a culture of extra, if a little is good, more is better. And we overconsume. I mean, take a look at Costco is a perfect example. It's like, it's really being very mindful about the choices you make. And when it comes to products and personal care, you can vote with your dollar.
Yeah. And I love that you share your personal story so openly, like on Clubhouse. I've listened to you so many times and I've known you for so long, but to watch you like really in your garden and to see you do what you do and you show the growth of what you're growing and why you love it and the smell of it. It's just very like, I feel like I'm walking alongside of you in your journey. And I think that's so special for brand founders to know you don't have to like do millions and millions of dollars a year to make something thoughtful and beautiful, and that people can align next to you and say, God, I love your story. Cause I love watching. I love listening to you on Clubhouse too, because these people just love they know who you are almost because of how you share what you share.
Thank you. I really try. And that's one of the reasons why I even have my own personal Instagram. It was always just on the brand one. And I wanted people to see a very different vulnerable side of me. And that might not be for everybody who wants to follow a brand. So I realized, okay, this is who I am. And it's hard because I don't know how to do it. It's so funny. Yes, I understand the brand side, but me different. But I want people to get to know me, get to know that I'm a mom, that I'm struggling with, how do you help your children as they start to develop, out in the world. And, yes, a car can break down. How do I, all those things that are a part of me. I am literally just like everybody else. I started this by selling my jewelry and emptying my 401k, going into significant debt. But I didn't know what I was doing. And I did this because I was passionate about creating change and making a difference with whatever portion of my life I had left. And showing that you can do those things by surrounding yourself with the right people and the right mindset. And I think that's an important thing for people to see, I'm just a regular person. There's no, that's it. What you see is what you get.
And after your surgery, which I think we were saying it was 2009, did the line, did it take you a year or two to sort of get the line off the ground, or was it pretty quick? Did you start with one product? How did you, what was sort of the process? Because the industry, and again, you guys have so much more history than I do, but, I feel like, same thing. When I started having kids, I was very concerned about what I was putting in them and on them because they were fresh and new.
Absolutely.
And so I started maybe getting better at putting organic products in, eating the food, but skincare took me a while. That wasn't something. My kids were born in 2005 and 2007. At the time, I don't even know what was out there.
Yeah.
And so
it wasn't much, I'll be honest.
No.
And so that's kind of what happened. Yeah. Well, when I went home after that doctor's appointment, I literally opened, I have to be careful. I sound like I definitely have a Long Island accent. So I always have to pronounce, I opened my drawer, and of all the samples and the sachets and everything. And I just threw everything out. I said, oh my gosh, oh my goodness.
What do I have?
And I'm like, okay, now I have nothing left. What am I going to use? And then I started to really take a look at that. And I said, that's really interesting. And everybody kind of focuses on their face.
Yeah.
Which is so fascinating to me because it's such a small percentage compared to the rest of your body, which is your skin, largest organ. Okay, well, that's great that you're focusing on that 3%. What about the rest?
Yeah.
And so for me, it started with body care because I look at the surface area and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is in my lotion? What am I bathing with?
I know.
And all those things. And that's where I started. So it was primarily bath products and body products. And I started when I was diagnosed. So when you're given 6 months, you get to decide how you're going to spend it. And so when my kids were in school, I was researching and concocting in my house. The coconut citrus scrub, which is still in the line today, was the first product that I formulated.
Okay.
In my kitchen.
Love it.
And so I had some body oils, some soaks, and some scrubs. And then I was even using the body oils on my face because I knew what was in them. And it was jojoba and, it was basically jojoba and some essential oils. And, it's very rudimentary. But then I realized, okay, there's something here. It's resonating. And then I started to work with a chemist and who I still work with to this day. And started expanding the line into face. And it's so funny. Of course, the face products take off. And I'm like, don't forget your body.
Right. You're like, wait a minute, that's only 10%.
Yeah. So by the time I launched in 2009, I had already had a full line of products that I had quote unquote developed.
Okay.
I was very eager. And I'll never forget, I was in the hospital. I'd woken up, I'd probably been awake for 5 hours, out of out of recovery. I was still in neuro ICU for days. And I called my webmaster and I was like, Matt, we're turning on in a month. I lived. And he's like, he's like, did you have the surgery? You're really, and my mother's like, she's on some drugs.
Not with
right now. Webmaster from the ICU.
I know, right? That was my call. I know, crazy. But I was so passionate. I'm like, I'm going to create change. This is my calling. I have to do it. Like, no, nothing's going to stop me. So it's pretty funny to see where the brand is now and to look back on that and go, yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, and there weren't any, and I feel like I kind of, an aware person, but again, skincare was something that I've been cleaning up probably for the past maybe like 3 to 5 years, if you will. And it's interesting there. I think a huge part of it that helped me was all of these sort of, I don't even know if you can call them independent retailers, but sort of the Credos and the detoxes and even Blue Mercury that kind of straddles, right? But we have a really great one in Atlanta called, I think it's Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Love them.
Catherine is one of my dearest friends. Literally
I love that.
one of my dearest friends.
I love them. And they sold me your superfruit.
Well done, Catherine, if you're listening.
So, I was in there one day and that was like, sort of, I was explaining like, okay, I'm here. I'm trying to clean it up. This is what I refuse to give up this one product.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You don't have to give up everything if you don't want to. Who says? Yeah. It's your life.
Well, and then I find like you can mix in and I haven't done like all the total deep research, but it seems like the Well products are pretty good. So like, which are, not to say that you're not affordable, but you're more of a luxury line. And so if you can mix in, these pieces, I think, finding out what do you, what are sort of the high low?
Exactly. And you know what, like for us, there's a high low for everything. So like our products for clarity, right? For having clearer complexion. Those are all in, like we have things for $19, $16, because think about it. Young adults are struggling with acne and don't get me on the food, body, gut, skin, because we can have a whole nother episode on that. But I want it to be affordable for them. I want them to feel good about themselves, but know that they're putting something that's good on their skin too. And so, the line runs the gamut. But I agree. It was the smaller retailers like the Aaliyahs, the Credos, the Detox Markets, the Citrines of the world that started it, really. Yeah. And I think that enough noise was made that all of a sudden, the Sephoras, the Ultas, the Blue Mercuries of the world was like Nordstrom. Hey, we went into Nordstrom early when they brought it in. And I was like, I love it. I'm like, yes, and it's so funny because right now, clean gets a backlash, a little bit is getting a backlash. And I think it's because there's some people who like to use fear mongering. And as Jennifer knows, it's never going to come out. Like, come on, please. Give me a Chanel lipstick and I'm going to put it on if it's nice. So
that's the whole thing, right? You got to take things in small doses, do what you want to do. And like you said, you don't have to do everything all at once. Just do what makes you feel comfortable.
I always say one product at a time, because if you do it all at once, you won't know what works and what doesn't. But, Monica, to your point, we find that a lot of people come to the brand during a time of transition. Yeah. So either they're thinking about having children, they've just had children, perhaps they've lost a loved one to something, and they start to look at products. And so very early on, before it was mainstream, it was really more in that people are going clean in the transitional periods of their life, which I think is fantastic. However you get to it is great. But I think also the mainstream retailers starting to bring it in is also creating awareness that you're not sacrificing efficacy.
Exactly. Because that's what we're looking for. Right.
And you went to work.
No. And it's like, one of the things that I've been like trying to find a good one that I like is deodorant. And I got on your website and I saw that you have.
I was like, I'll send you one after this. Like,
I'm super excited. I totally want to try it because I've been trying
totally sent it to you today.
I don't love it, but I love yours. Like, it's like a burger. Like, I love the.
Oh my gosh,
it smells so good, Monica. It smells
so those are sort of like where I'm like, okay, and a lot of my girlfriends are also trying to go through, and they're like, oh, I have this extra it didn't work for me, but it might work for you. Yep.
And it's a personal thing. That's. Our bodies are so cool and everybody's so individual, and your pH balances and what you eat and what environment you're on. So there's no two people that are similar. I guess, obviously twins, that's a whole nother, but regardless, environment plays a part too. And so that's why I think it's beautiful that there are so many lines that are going to, you know what, not one brand is right for one person or product is right for someone. We want to provide options, which is why we have so many different focuses that you can have.
Right.
But I love buying other people's products too.
Yeah.
That's key, right? Yeah.
Oh, please. I want to support other.
That's why I was so happy when I had Beauty Bar. I was able to just kind of introduce people to brands and then be able to kind of share their stories and kind of interweave certain products.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And if you don't mind, I would love to kind of talk about why you choose the ingredients you choose.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are certain things that you like using, why, and are there certain things that you definitely always try and stay away from?
Yeah, no, great question. So obviously I told you we're Cosmos certified. So there's a whole list of thousands of ingredients that we can't use, because don't forget, I need the ingredient to be certified too, which means annually audited ingredients. So there's a whole bevy. So that's part of it that kind of provides us with the roadmap. In addition to the, you can call them the dirty dozen, you can call them whatever you want, which is a whole grouping of different products, which whether they're parabens, phthalates, ethoxylated products, all those ingredients that we stay clear of. And, what we like to say is when in doubt, formulate without or formulate out. So we had an ingredient that was at one point considered the creme de la creme of clean, naturally derived preservative. And then there was enough that came and said, well, there's questionability, and we formulated it out. So, we're like, okay, we're hearing enough. We're going to formulate it out and start from scratch on those. So we're very mindful of that. And then in addition, for choosing what we do use, we're looking at products and ingredients that are sustainably sourced. I mean, again, that's really cruelty-free always. Grown where they're, optimal growth, right? Because you want to make sure that you're harnessing the power of this plant where it's grown optimally. Right? If I grew a lemon tree in my backyard, it's not going to grow as optimally as if it's going to grow in the tropics or in Florida. Right. You know what I mean? Same thing with an avocado. It's just not even going to really bloom for me. Right. So taking extracts from it, it's not going to be the healthiest, most potent. So it's having those conversations and sourcing ingredients, where they're grown optimally and they're grown sustainably. They're certified for us, for Cosmos. So that is really what goes into our sourcing. I mean, we have on our site an entire dictionary of what we will formulate with, as well as what we won't formulate with. But sustainability is at the forefront of this. We want to leave the world better, not worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's such a great, simple, but sometimes very difficult.
It seems simple, but it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. Example of reformulating, like that takes time. It takes money. You maybe, it
could change how the feel, the texture, the smell, and you have a runaway hit and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to change this. What is the impact going to be? That can be very scary. But at the bottom, out of the crux of this, I created the line to create change. Right? Am I perfect? No. So no one take me like I'm not godlike. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I take accountability for those mistakes, but I'm never going to be perfect. But we're going to do the best that we possibly can and do the right thing. And so when we have to switch, people aren't always happy with us, but we know in our hearts that it's the right thing to do. And so we've taken products off and people are angry and bring it back and blah, blah, blah. But we had to say that wasn't the right decision.
Yeah. I love that.
It's a hard one.
Well, it's leadership though.
Yeah. It's leadership and listen, financial hits and all those things, but it's the right thing.
It's the right thing. And you're evolving, you're constantly learning. And I remember when you and I spoke, this was like maybe 2010, 2011, you were changing even like your packaging.
Yes.
So can we actually even discuss like what goes into what you're seeing now in terms of like waste and packaging and how you have to evolve to really, and it's hard. It's not easy to do.
It's really hard. The goop has to be stable. And that's a problem we run into when we go onto our productions. Like, okay, we have this great new product, but it's not stable in any of the refillable, recyclable, blah, 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 blah. And, you've got this really cool, innovative technology, but it's not going to stay like in the texture, it'll start to break and you're like, okay. So it's very difficult. And I don't think that the consumers are really aware of the challenge that is there. I mean, we go through the RIP, we go through stability, we go through shelf life, all those, and we're not going to compromise that just because we want to say, okay, well, look, it's in a refillable. Okay, well, it's not stable. So you're going to have it. So it's very difficult, but we are making the changes. So we've switched over to our glass is PCR, right? So 20% PCR.
Yep.
We have our new jumbo brightening cleanser, which is a lower footprint because you're getting more products in one bottle, and the bottle is PCR. Right. So we're able to provide that. And that's like one of our best sellers. We're like, okay, people want it in the shower. This is non-glass. It's PCR. So we're making those shifts. You'll see some other things. We're working with refillables now. So stay tuned. But every time we do it, we're having the conversation is, what is the end of life for this? What is it made of? Is this fit for, the consortiums that we're a part of, like Credo? I think we signed up for Pact, Cosmos, all those Grove, all those retailers who are making such an incredible shift. Are we staying in line with that? How do we get rid of single use, like things like that, like the peel pads? How are we going to change that up? So we're having those conversations. I just hope that the consumers realize it's not as easy as one and done. If I have all these bottles, right? I have to use them up, because if I toss them, that's not sustainable. And if someone, a brand like me, we've got minimum runs. So maybe we had to buy 50,000 pieces of this, so before I switch, because now it's available in PCR, I need to use up what I did. Otherwise that's just going into the landfill. That's wasteful.
Of course. Yeah.
And so I think consumers need to realize that. And that's not just me, that's everybody. So I'm very lucky because the people who invested in me on Cora Holdings, they have an entire, like a sustainability group, and that goes through that. And it's incredible to have people who have invested in you, who are wanting to make the change that they want to see.
Right. And you have a recycling program.
So we do have a recycling program.
So how does that work? Like I just hold on to stuff and
you hold on. So we do, you could send one in at a time to people, but I'm like, well, that's not great for the carbon footprint. So what we do is we say, hold on. Once you have 3 back, like 3, you can go onto the website, download like the little form and everything, and then just mail it back. And it goes through a recycling program.
Nice.
And we're actually signing up with another one. So more details on that one too.
Oh, good.
Exciting.
Yeah. That's a really important part to us. And anybody who returns a product to us, like say you don't like it. I can't imagine that. But if you don't, like, listen, that's possible. Maybe you didn't like the way the brightening cleanser smell. Like we go ahead and everything is rinsed and then recycled as well.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a whole nother side of it. It's just so hard. And it's like, I even am like, okay, how do I clean it out? Because I know that there's issues with even like recycling my jar of pasta sauce. Like if it's not cleaned out and the glass.
People just do that. They just take it and they put it in and they don't realize that's not actually how you do it. Or even tubes, like you have to cut the tube. You've got to rinse it out. And then depending on what the top is, and this brand should tell you, is that curbside or do you stick it in the recycle? So you've got to look. And that's what we are doing is we've provided that information on our site and continually on social media. This is how you recycle it. It's not just, oh, look, I'm done. Throw it into the recycle bin.
Right. Right. Yeah. Have you guys ever thought of opening up your own store?
No. No, I have not.
I understand, Indy. I understand.
I am not looking to get into the real estate business. No, thank you.
It's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. So, where is like Indie League going? So you talked about a tiny bit. I'm just going to like my own what if, gut health.
Yep. I don't, we've talked about it. I don't know. Again, another unregulated industry. It's kind of freaky. So I'm not sure. And there's some other brands that are doing great on it. For me, I'm really happy in the space that I'm in, but bringing other verticals in to it, which you'll see in a completely new chapter or vertical that's coming out October.
Ooh, okay.
Yep. So a new products coming out in October 13th. Perfect. So that'll be really exciting. But we've taken a look at what people say. We have post-consumer surveys and people said, oh, if Indy would come out with a deodorant. We tried to do a deodorant for 2+ years. And then when Taos Air came out with theirs, I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this one. And so we did a collab with them.
I love that.
We're able to bring it out. But we have some other ones that people have asked us to go into, like sunscreen and, color and things like that, where people are like, oh, Indy, just do it. Please do it. So we'll see. Might surprise you with some things coming up.
I love that.
No, I absolutely love that. Like continuing to grow is like so fun.
More
and I'm super
education, you know, and trying to bring awareness and really champion this concept of what it takes to go clean, but not in a negative way. This fear mongering has got, you've got to stop. You've got to stop.
And the shame.
Yes.
You
and
know,
by the way,
the shame of like, oh, you didn't, whatever.
Right.
You're
like,
not
hey,
doing this. And you're like, oh my God, I'm trying.
Like, come on, there is no such thing as perfect.
No.
Yeah.
You know what? We're all perfectly imperfect. And we have to stop shaming people or telling them what is right or wrong for them.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, Indy. It's all the judgment. We don't want to we're not judging. We're not, I think it's all about this. That's why Monica and I want to do this platform is all about educating.
That's
and
it.
We're like, I learned so much from each guest and from you and from everyone that comes on. I'm just like blown away by the education that comes with these conversations that we get to then amplify. And I think that's the key, right? Just
knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And I just want to help educate and empower people so that they live the healthiest version of their life. And by the way, I always say, even if it's not my products, if you heard my story and realize sometimes the world is going to give you lemons and you can go out there and make limoncello and choose joy, then you know what? That's part of the change I wanted to create. It wasn't just skincare. It was, my gosh, this is not a dress rehearsal. Go out there and live, do something great, leave the world better than how you came into it. You know, those things, and feel like you live for a reason and only you can do that. And that's part of what this brand has always been about too. It's mindfulness.
Oh, I love that. I love your mindfulness Mondays. And I love,
Thank you.
You know, actually I want to ask you, cause I know we're on a time limit here, but, cause you are walking your walk in nature. So can you kind of talk about the importance of nature in your daily life? I know you're in your greenhouse a lot, maybe you're growing something right now, but can you give us a little bit more of what nature means to you in your daily life?
To me, that's all energy, right? So there is, I mean, you guys know it better than I do. There is an energetic, there's a vibration, right? So getting out there and getting into that flow, I think is so important for longevity and, you know, for your obviously biological health, but your soul health, your mental health, your, you know, the whole thing. And so for me, it's going outside every day and grounding. Okay. We'll admit when it's ice out, I typically stay away from that. So but like I try, even if it's on the porch, then I'm closer. But every day grounding, every day in the greenhouse. Even when it's snowing, I'll go out there and check on things. I typically don't grow too much over the winter, but, yeah, I'm out there with the dogs. I mean, listen, my dogs have to go out every day. And then that's another forcing me, even when I don't want to go outside. And then once I'm out there, really breathing that in. So it's, you know what, for me, it's hiking as much as possible. Today I'm going horseback riding. This is this is completely new to me.
Fun.
It's just another way to connect with animals and nature. So, you know, evening trail rides.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah. Just finding ways to do that. And that's been a part of my life for so long. You know, obviously, you know, now the Genesis started with farm to table and slow food. But that's a very, very critical part of my life is how am I connecting with Mother Earth on a daily basis?
Yeah. And you're giving yourself permission to do it, which also then infects like other people that are following you and watching you. Like, wow, if you can shut off and like be connected to nature, then I can. So they
that's it. You see me, I try to do as much of my conversations outside on my front porch.
Yeah.
Because that is my happy place. And I am out there all seasons. I got a little fire pit out there now, so I can be on my covered porch. Even if it's raining or anything, I want to be out there. Again, I think it's so healing. I mean, that's the only word. It's healing. I feel like everything we need is out there in nature if we go and look hard enough.
That's why
it's so important for us to conserve, not even conserve. It's not even sustainability anymore. It's got to be regenerative. It's got to be putting back in. We've taken and depleted for way too long.
Yeah.
And it's finding simple ways. And by the way, I have, you know, a journey in this myself on how I can continue to be better. So I don't want people to think, oh, she's like perfect at, no, I'm still learning.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of that where people in our neighborhood are like, can I live there? It seems like everybody's this or that. And it's like, no, 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 no. We're real people. We have all sorts of flaws. We do all things wrong. We do some things right. But I do think community is so important. And so like, I love that you have a podcast. I love that you have your Indies journal and, you do your own social, because building that community, I think, is where the power is.
100%. Mm-hmm. That's you. I mean, Jennifer knows I've always been like, I want to build a community, and I can't say that I want to build a community if I'm not a part of it. Yeah. And that's why I go in and I often comment as me, not so they go, oh, is that the, community manager? If it's me on my channel, I'll go like XXI. And so people know that it's me, or I'll go like, why am I commenting from the brand? Let me go on to mine and comment. So, this is me.
This is me.
Right? I'm a part of this community. We're building this community together. We're learning how to be better. We're making mistakes and learning from them and leaning into them, which is why I love what you guys are doing. You're not judging. You're trying to educate and not doing, again, in a shaming way, because let's face it, there's a lot of fear mongering in the sustainable, biophilia world. Yep. Also, when people go, well, you're not doing it right. Doing your best. You know what you guys know it. I'm not saying
Yeah.
We're trying. Yeah. You're trying. You're doing better than you were the day before.
And that's the whole goal. It's like every day, if we can just bring like one new person sort of into this sort of like what we're sort of calling a biophilic movement, but it's not like a membership or, you have to.
I don't get a membership card after this.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I'll make one for you.
We'll make one. Yeah.
I'll mail it for you. But I just think it's like everybody's already in it. You're already a part of the biophilic movement. You just have to recognize it, right? And then you can bring to it what you have available to bring. And that may change day to day. But I love that you say, it doesn't, whatever that regime is, whether it's the food you're eating or what you're putting on your body, or we talk about fashion too, that there's, ethical fashion, like, do your best.
That's it.
Do your best.
If you do one good thing, as part of this movement a day, you're better than you were when you didn't. And then you realize it's those little steps that can create significant change globally. And that's what gets me excited.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think we should end it right on that. That's a great message to go out on, Indy. Seriously. Where can we follow you? What's the best way that we can help support you?
The brand is Indie Lee, INDIELEE, which is also my name. And now that's a whole nother podcast. But you can find on social at Indie, INDIE_Lee, which is the brand page. And if you want to chat with me, which I love, go to Indie Lee, INDIELEE, no space, no nothing. And that's my personal Instagram. And I do answer it's just me. It's just me hanging out and trying to have conversations with people.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're so excited that you're a part of the movement, and I'm so excited that I get to meet you, and hopefully we'll meet you in person.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I was supposed to go down to Atlanta to Aaliyah. I know, but now with COVID, we're like trying to figure out when. I know, but I am dying to get down there, and maybe there's even like, I can come visit.
I think you need to come stay with us at Serenity.
Stop.
Come stay with us at Serenity. And then I really want to open an Aaliyah here. I told her that when I was in there. I was like, do you want to open it? I mean, I don't know. I'm like, do you want to just open one? Because it would be
Catherine?
So perfect.
Huh? Oh, well, I can hook you up with Catherine.
Yeah.
Listen,
it would be perfect down here.
She is a powerhouse. She's done this herself. It's incredible. Unbelievable. And she has stores in Charleston, Charlotte, Atlanta, Raleigh, and Denver. Yeah, she is unbelievable. She's also like my son's emergency contact. My son's in Boulder College. And like, that's his emergency. If you can't get in touch with a mom, that's what you call.
Oh, is that where she lives now? Or is that where she
lives she lives in Denver.
Okay.
And she wanted to bring clean beauty to like tertiary markets and not just the mainstream, which I love.
I love that.
She's just a beautiful person inside and out, and what she's creating is beautiful. And so, I agree. She should have it there.
Okay, let's make it happen.
Okay, that's my next text.
You can come do a whole demo and
a
masterclass.
Jennifer, I'm going to come down with you, Indy.
A masterclass. We can walk the trails. Oh my God, we can have a whole Indie weekend.
That'd be so much fun.
Okay, let's do it. Yay!
Amazing. I love it. I'm going to keep you up to it though. I'm like, okay, Monica's my new best friend.
Yeah, we don't mess around. When we invite you, we're serious.
Nope.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's serious, Mindy. She's serious.
As am I. I mean, I comment on Jen. I'm like, what sort of heaven are you in? And she's like,
it's the biophilic heaven.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Well, Indy, thank you so much. And Jennifer, thank you for connecting us. And
so
we're thrilled to have you, and we're going to spread the word.
Thank you so much for having me and for giving me the opportunity to share my love. I'm so excited. I feel so warm. See, this was a self-care event.
I think so. Tell your team.
I will.
Good for the brand and good for Indy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy horseback riding.
Oh, thank you.
Jennifer, thank you so much for connecting us and our listeners with Indy. She is so great, and I can't wait to do things with her.
I knew it. I knew you would love her. She just radiates sunshine, doesn't she? She's just like the power of positivity.
Yeah. And her story is so inspiring. I mean, talk about lemons to limoncello.
Isn't that the truth? She's really someone who walks the walk and leads by example in everything she does, but not in a preachy, you're a monster if you're not perfect kind of way. She strives to do her best, and yet it's like really totally open about shifting gears if she learns that there's a better way to do something.
Yes. And just going off of how she walks the walk, she really holds her brand to a really, really high standard. I mean, the Cosmos standard, that was something totally new to me, where every single aspect of the sourcing and production process is analyzed and audited every single year. That's no joke. And I have so much respect for anyone who recognizes the importance of this regenerative model.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you said that. That's so true. And the thing is, her business isn't suffering for it. I think so many people who run companies and have businesses are so worried that subjecting themselves to this kind of rigorous standard will hurt them in some kind of way or their bottom line. I would just tell those people to look at Indy.
Absolutely. And she's so open about what she still needs to work on, like any of us. She's made these big strides in how she packages products, but also like these things are difficult and products have to be stable and have efficacy. And it's a constant thing that she's really working on, which is a really great example for all of us.
Exactly. Just a really inspiring example of someone who is running a successful business in a really healthy and biophilic way.
All right, Jennifer, we'll chat again in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Bye, Monica.